I think it's very important that as judges of showmanship, we realize that we have a great reputation in Canada that is very, very important that we uphold. Internationally, any time that judges for showmanship travel, we are very highly regarded in the world. And it's very important that we both maintain that reputation and realize that we have a lot of respect in the world and we've earned that respect, and we have to conduct ourselves when we judge showmanship at home or abroad with a great deal of respect. It's important to be respectful to all competitors. We're not dealing with bovines, we're not dealing with calves, we're dealing with humans, human beings, individuals. And we need to be very, very positive in our comments towards them. Any of our comments as far as things that they can do to improve at another show in the future on another day should always be made in a very positive way so that we build self-confidence, and it is a positive experience for all competitors that we are judging. It's also important to always look and judge each showmanship competitor. Whether they have a calf that is going to be a competitor at the Royal Winter Fair, or whether it's a calf that maybe is undesirable as far as conformation in comparison to others. The showmanship competitors all deserve an equal look. And it's very important that we do that they feel that we have given them that look, because they will feel it, their parents will know it, and their grandparents may remind us of it. So I think it's very important that we treat everyone with respect when we are judging showmanship. It needs to be a very positive experience, and as judges, we all need to familiarize ourselves with the showmanship manual and judge accordingly. The 4-H competitors all are very well read, well versed on the manual, and they show the way it is described in the manual of doing so. And it is very important that we as judges be consistent and judge as the manual indicates, as opposed to our individual opinions of the day.
In a class, you like to have your competitors to come in a timely fashion. You want to see, as me as a judge, I always got a routine on how I look at kids and how I look at every class in showmanship, because I think you got to be consistent in the day of how you judge from junior kids all the way up to seniors. So when you're judging juniors to seniors, they do change in their judging or in their showmanship styles. They get older, they get better, they get a little more fussy. Sometimes these young kids, there's naturals out there, and sometimes you like to see those ones because when they come in the ring, you can tell they've practiced a lot at home and got their calf leading well. So this time of year, when we get down to some of these larger shows and 4-H achievement days, we definitely want to take a look at, first thing I like to look at is halter and positioning a halter. And if a calf's got, the kid's got the snap on properly, because when you can eliminate that stuff out of the rest of the show, then it makes it easier for you to kind of concentrate on what the kid's doing on stopping and starting. So I usually go around and take a look at the halter, take a look at the way the kid's dressed. You like them to come in a nicely, neat, tidy style of dress. They don't all look the same. The kids are different sizes, frame sizes, and different, kids are bigger, smaller, shorter, so pants, make sure the pants go to the floor, or around the bottom of their boots, that kind of stuff, so they're neat and tidy. So, and make sure their shirts, they don't have to all be button-up shirts, but, as long as they got a clean shirt that's white, not pale white, kids that spend that time to make sure that they're clean and ready to go to the ring. So the other things you kind of look at is, I think you got to look at, calves that are, it's showmanship, so it's kind of the whole calf and showman. So I'd like to look at the way the calf's clipped. If they, you can look at the kid and judge if the kid actually did the clip job or didn't, or, if the younger kids put the effort in, you can tell the kid that takes pride in how they do the clipping and everything on their calf. Also on washing too, that's another thing, how many calves that, that are washed well or clean all the way down to their feet. The feet could be not brushed off or clean, so that might be a small little thing to split, a kid that's winning or is going to be second or third in the class, because some of these competitions get really tight on the top end, especially in senior showmanship. You got to figure out they're all the same. They all got great movement around the ring, so you got to figure out how you're going to and what you're going to say, why one's over the other. So this class here, everybody moved in. you got to do notice I said halters and halter sizing. You know, our competitor over here, halter is a little big for the calf. He's got the buckle on this side. It's not as neat and tidy as the rest of the competitors around the ring. You got calves that, you know, the spacing between your calves too. You got to pay attention to that. Make sure kids aren't overcrowding other kids. And the other thing, one of the big things, some of these rings that are small out there, you got to make sure the kids are using the whole ring. You know, if you have a person in the ring that can help you out, keep these kids to the outside, and it'll make your job a lot easier identifying the kids that are, you know where they are on the outside and give you space to get around the calves. So you're going to have to ask the kids to stop, and you know you got to give them a little time to get their calf kind of stopped and positioned, and kind of take an overlay of the whole class and look at you know, how fast they set it up, if it's correct setting up for the calf, see how easy they do it, and see how smooth they are with their calves. So some calves you can tell the showmen have practiced, or some of the calves that are very natural at showmanship as well, and flow well with the exhibitor. So when you watch this, you know, you got to check out everything, and then you can look and see how they're lined up and set their calves, and then from there you can ask them to move again, and you can see the kids that follow your hand signal. So that's one thing you got to watch, is make sure you're definite on when you want them to move, when you want them to stop, so everybody has a fair chance to know that you're asking them to stop or move as well. So as the class goes on, you want to get closer to the calves and examine the calves. Usually you want the calves to stop, and then you can do 3 or 4 calves. So we talked about time and how a class flows along, and you got to watch your clock, because the night does tick along, and that's one thing some parents do and showmen do kind of complain about as a judge. It's slow. So time management's got to be a key. You know, make sure if you don't have a watch, you got someone that's your on the side that's maybe timing your classes, can say, hey, you're taking longer on each class, so just so you know your time on every class, because some classes get bigger, some classes get smaller. We did talk about heats as well, because we do run into that with these bigger shows and smaller rings. So when you do have heats, you got to be able to pick back the amount of kids out of every heat. Sometimes there are heats that are really good, and sometimes you have a lot less showmen in a heat that you want to bring back. So you got to figure out your size of ring and say, I'd like to bring back 10, 15, 20, depends on your size of ring, because at the end, on your finals, you don't want to have too many in there and not be able to work the kids over and make sure they got lots of room to show their calves off. So you do, as a judge, you got to watch that and make sure you have enough time to make sure, or enough room and enough space for every kid to have a fair chance at the class. So when we get going through the class and you examine the calves, go around the calves, then you start pulling your top 3, 4 in and watch them kind of come into line. You want to see those calves stand back, see how they present the calf to you as they line up. Then you have to, once you get your lineup in, one important thing I like to do is go around the front of the calves. A couple things you can see from there is how the competitor stands beside their calf, positioning a halter up by their eyes, or the way they hold their halter when they stand. And if they know their calf, how she stands in line. Some calves, when they get in line, they don't look as nice as they do on the outside. So you got to see how the competitor kind of compensates for that as well, to make sure that calf's showing off to you the most inside in the lineup. So from there, you know, we did talk about, I think some judges I've seen lately have been pinching hide. I think that's a thing from the past. I think we do have to follow our manuals. We have to make sure that we don't do that, because a lot of 4-H kids wonder why, and why our judges are doing some of that these days. So we do, as judges, have to follow the manual. Make sure you follow that to a T. If you don't have one, make sure you get one today to read it over, and if you're judging some shows later this year, you'll be brushed right up on that. So in line as well, you like to see a lineup from behind, very straight from first to last in the class, so that they're all in a uniform style. Watch the positioning of feet and legs, you know, and how many kids, how they move their calves in line, and see how they position their legs, because some kids are very fluent in the line, some kids get very nervous in the line, you know, so you have to pick up on all those little fine details to make sure you got the winner of the night there. So I guess we can line some of these calves up. We'll just do it. We'll just start with this calf here, just line them up. So as I said, you got to stand back and watch these competitors line up. We're not going to do it like a normal show where you pull in all the calves differently, but you got to watch how fast they pull in, how smoothly they pull into line, how they move their calf in just to get her settled and positioned in line. You can learn a lot about how this kid has trained his calf or her calf during the year, because you can, pulling into line, you can see the ones that have had lots of practice and some that haven't. So as you see, our first competitor moved in very smoothly, calmly, got her calf set up. Our next competitor moved in really quickly. So there's things like that. He drove right into the lineup really fast. So notice those little things that may change your mind on who you win with or how your class flows all the way down. And then we get our next competitor with a calf that's maybe not acting up, but maybe she did a great job on the outside, so you got to weigh out how you're going to deal with her. If you did pull her third, do you move her down, or watch how she moves her calf back into line and how composed she is? You do have to weigh out the pluses and minuses of that. So as we get our line in, we, as I said, definitely take a long step back and a good look at the class, see how they're given, depends on your size of class and how you're flowing along in your show. You might want to give them 5-10 minutes, depends on how big the class is, and see how they handle lining up, because some competitors, as I said, get really nervous in line. Some competitors get really calm and get their calf set really quick, and they may be down the class, and you might have to give them a little credit to move them up. So when your final lineup, it's not set in stone that this is first, second, third, fourth, all the way down. You might have a competitor you pulled in third that did a great job in line that you want to move up in line. So definitely move that person. Give them the credit, get them moved back up. You can always move them down, because every 4-H member should know it's not done until you're on the mic. If the class isn't finished. So as the class goes on, we should just view from behind, see the calves, see how they're lined up, see their positioning of their legs, see how they've corrected their faults. See these kids, if they've corrected through their rump structure or through their front ends, kind of got them so they stand a little nicer. So as we see these competitors all kind of move around, we see this class here. We like nice spacing between our calves too as well. Calves, from first down to the bottom calf. You need to watch that too as well. You get some of these calves that get bunched in, and kids don't consider the next competitor beside them. So, you got to watch all that as well. So you get around the front. As I said, always definitely go around the front of the calves and see how they move around their calves in the front. You can tell a lot from what they're doing from the front as well. And you can see the front end and the spacing through their legs and see how they got their front end set up. Always definitely take a look from the front as well as from behind. So I think after that, you can pull out your second lineup, move them ahead, and get them to go around. When they do that, we can see them as the amount of spacing they have and their flow through the class as well. If they start out fast and the person that's winning heads off to the winner's line and the other person doesn't catch up. So always you like to see the second, third, fourth, and all the way down. Make sure you see them challenging a little bit. Then you can, it doesn't say you can't move those kids around as well, that they get through the class. But I think you got to watch. You don't want someone that's 4'2" with a big junior yearling, and you don't want someone that's 7 or 6'5" with a small March calf. You gotta weigh out. I think when it gets down, you got to watch how they control the calf and how they move with the calf and stance of the showman. If they're slouching over, or if they're if they've got too much, some tall kids, they get really a long ways away because they're long armed, they get a long way away from the calf. So I think when they're in our manuals or when we're picking calves, it says right in there to pick a calf that you think that'll be your size by fall time or later in the fall. It's hard to pick a calf, but if you're a tall member, you're probably going to be junior yearling, summer yearling. You want to stay with those ages, and then younger members that are shorter need to stay with calves that fit them size-wise. But, don't discredit a person that if they do a great job and they know all the fundamentals and they got everything 100% with their calf, it's a small little thing on the size of calf, but it can switch, it can change your mind a little bit. I think in the earlier shows you see it more than the later shows. The fall time, the calves are caught up to everybody and fit the kid probably a little more properly. If we're going through the class here, ideally, we get down into these two competitors here. We have a nice little space between Depends on your size of ring and how big the ring is, and you usually have a ring person with you to help you set them up and get them in line. But ideally for spacing for rumps, you like to see them square and behind. You like to see nice space in between. You get these calves here that are a little more sideways and kind of pushing over. You have to discredit those, or you got to take a little marks off for that, I think, because at this time of year these calves should be trained enough that they come in line and stand straight and proper with their legs. So unless these competitors, these ones, if they really try and really you see them really working at it, you can give them a little credit for that. But if they do it 2 or 3 times in line up and don't get their calf corrected, you have to move them down the line or leave them where you've got them, I think that's a good question, because you get some calves that don't have great legs. You got to get that impression from the exhibitor that they know that that's one of their faults. Like you got to find out. There might be some calves that are high through their rump structure or sloping their pins, and you see kids more than once go back and pinch them through their loin structure. That's saying, hey, I do know there's a fault. I'm trying to correct it. Give me some credit for that, right? So, the leg issues. It's back to when the kids pick their calves. It's in the start of the manual. It's part of the 4-H thing is pick a calf that's the most correct. Try to get the nicest legged calf, the nicest rib calf, the longest neck calf, the longest frame calf. Not everybody has that opportunity. I've seen great showmen that have had calves that have had faults and they win the classes. They're kids that have come and they show that they want to win. It's when you get to certain ages and it gets up in the seniors, I think you see it more that they have that desire to win. You can tell that they want to win, even from when they first walk in the ring. That, hey, they know their faults, but they're going to show that calf off to their best ability. But it's those little things. As I said, there's got to be a routine. For me, I said I look at the halter, the dress of the person, and that's out of my mind until at the end when I'm picking, because I already know which ones are right and which ones are wrong, or what I like. And then you can concentrate more on how the person's leading and how they correct the faults. You can spend more time on that instead of doing that at the end of the class, running around trying to find out, well, that halter doesn't fit right, this don't fit right. Well, do you remember if they did a good job showing or what their pluses and minuses were in the whole class? But you have to have a certain routine and try to stick to that every time that you're out there judging, I think, and that'll get more consistent. It's like open shows. Everybody has a pattern of what they like. When you get that pattern, everybody can follow you. Once you got that nice pattern and showmanship, everybody can follow you, and even the kids can figure out how to show for you. I think it'll make them better because once they know what your pattern is. I think that's important as judges, when we get there, we need to find out how big the show is. Say, hey, how many kids in the junior, intermediate, and senior classes, and you can kind of say, well, if there's a large show, there's 60, 40, and 20, then you got to spend more time on your juniors than your seniors. So, so the flow of your class and your time management part, definitely as a judge, you need to ask prior to judging the show how many kids are participating in each class. And that'll be better for time management wise. And then some classes you might spend more time. There might not be an easy winner. There may be a lot of kids that are all similar, but you do have to pick what you like and go with it. You can't spend all day, saying, hey, these 3 are the same. How do I pick one? You got to go with your gut feeling at the start, or as the class goes on, and make sure you pick the one that's the most, the best showman out there for the.
Versus showmanship.
Yeah, and showmanship, you get different sizes, and as we got here, we got big ones, smaller ones, big ones, smaller ones. Uniformity and consistency is what we're trying to drive, I think, a little bit more into showmanship, because there's a lot of shows you get to and everybody's a lot different. And these kids are coming to parents or leaders and saying, geez, that wasn't like the last show or like the show before. So that's why we thought we'd try to start this to get a little more consistent in our judging styles and the way we line up and the way we have the heifers lined up or in the class. So it's in showmanship, when you get younger kids, you'll have a lot of small calves, and in older classes, you'll have a lot of calves that are this size here by senior showmen. So when you get in the fall time, you won't get as much variance as what we maybe have here in sizes of calves, because they will be Senior showmen usually take a larger calf, and you'll have a little more consistent in size of class. And it's not maybe the lineup, the consistency in the class. It's showmanship. So we are looking for kids that pick the proper size calf. We're looking for kids that have the ability to show that calf off to the best ability. We're trying to identify the kids that's actually got the knowledge of how and what to do at certain times in the ring that we're looking for. We're looking for kids that have actually spent time with their calves on how they clipped them, washed them, hoof trimmed them, filled them. You can tell a lot from just looking at a calf on how much time a competitor does spend with their calf. And more time, sometimes there's a natural calf that shows like for anybody. There's a few of them out there, but competitors still need to spend time with their calf and show us that they know what they're doing, out there, that they spent time. I think the right way is the smoothest way. So for a competitor, if they feel comfortable backing that calf up, every calf's different. Every year's different with every calf. So you have to, that's where, as a judge, if the kid knows his calf, you're going to tell that he's practiced pushing forward or pushing backwards. You'll really tell if they've really spent time doing that with that calf. For me, it's smoothness and timely fashion,
As long as the calf looks, whichever way they do it, as long as the calf still looks presentable,
yes,
her best,
yeah.
it doesn't matter which way.
For me, it doesn't. It's because you're out there time managing yourself too. If you're going to sit there and watch them for 5 minutes each calf, you're going to spend too much time in class watching them switch their feet back and forth. The smooth competitors are really good competitors out there. They'll have their calf figured out if she likes going backwards or forwards. And it's good on the competitors if they actually know who the judge is and know what he prefers. I think they've done their homework. They figured out what judging style you are. So that I think it's good on the competitors to figure out the judge. That's the thing. You got to be able to figure those little, like, as showmen, as they develop into showmen that go on and judge show and open shows, the great showmen out there are great showmen in 4-H. That's why they continue on and show for cattle for a lot of people. It's a showman that can go out and take a cow or a heifer that they've never seen and figure her out in 5 minutes and go to the ring and show her like they've shown her all summer. Those are the kind of competitors for me I'm looking for, is the ones that I would ask to show my cattle, because they're a natural, or they're attentive, or they're good at their craft is that they're good at picking a calf and taking her and getting her shown to their best ability, because that's what showmanship's about. So the backing up and everything, I don't know what everybody else thinks of that. Front, going forward, backwards. I think it should be in a smooth style, as smooth as they can do it, either way. Terminology is a big thing. So we have male and female in our showmanship classes here. So we have to not be gender selective in our reasons. Not boy over girl or girl over boy. We should use competitor or participant or something like that, because we're not segregating either one. So that's one thing we ought to watch in our reasons, how we present our reasons. So in reasons, it's, we got to pick out, for me, it's one or two things what you like about that competitor over the next. We don't need a long resume why they're winning. We need one or two things so when that competitor goes outside of the ring, they know what they did right and what they did wrong. Sometimes we get into showmanship shows and you're getting a story about each person all the way down the line. And that's, for me, if the competitor that's maybe 6th or 7th wants to know why she was 6th or 7th or he was down there, they can come to you after the show and say, geez, why was I there? That's maybe what for afterwards for me. And terminology, you can use head carriage, positioning of legs, as we went through the class, the way they stood in the front, we can see, talk about how they stood in front of their calf or with their calf, how they're holding their halter, how they're holding their throat. You got to pick out a few key things about each competitor and say why they're over the other. And sometimes we get into shows that there's red calves or Jersey calves. I don't think we need to use Jersey calf competitor over the next competitor. We got to watch that. It's the competitor over one other. We got to don't say what breed it is or whatever in class. I think for me, it's not. it's about showmanship. It's about the calf, so, and the showman. But so this discussion is on entering the ring with your 4-H calf and how to present your calf as we enter the ring. So as a judge, you're watching all the competitors come in a timely fashion. You like to see them move in smoothly and gracefully with their calves as we watch them move in. So when you're watching, you like to see head carriage of the competitors, how they control their calves, and how their disposition of their calves are as they're moving through the ring. And then once they get into the ring here, our competitors, you do examine their halter, their positioning of their halter, how their calves respond to them with them moving through the ring as they move into the ring. So as these two competitors move in, you like to see the competitor watching you as well as watching the calf come through the ring and see that the calf responds to their movement as they come in. So as the kids come in, once the whole classes come in, you like to see the competitors turn around their calves and turn around and face their calves and show their calves, to their best ability when they're coming. Once we're done watching the competitors move in and turn around, we want to watch the competitors with their head carriage through the whole class. It's not just the start of the class, it's right to the finish of the class, right to when the calves are lined up. Some kids get tired and calves get tired. We want to see the competitors that have worked with their calves on their head carriage a lot at home to make sure that they're consistent. So it's proper head carriage when we're watching exhibitors come through the ring. We like to see the competitor holding her throat or the throat of the calf here. We like to see the halter fitting well of the calf when it comes in. We like to see the U of the neck and the length of the neck is what you like to see from your head carriage. So when we get calves that have got long necks or calves that got necks that maybe are a little shorter, we have to let the competitor show us that they know what their calf is how the calf is built. So this competitor we would like to see her, probably the wrong way is to get the nose up too high, the calf reaching to the sky kind of look to her. That would shorten her neck out and give her not as nice presentation from her head forward. So we also like to see the nose tilted into the judge a little bit as well, showing that the calf's got a little angularity in the length of the calf, but the calf gives you a nice side profile from her head back through her neck. And the neck down through her brisket, if a calf's heavy down through here, definitely we like to see that. So if the competitor's got a heavy throated calf, it gives that maybe not as desirable look and dairy quality to this calf's head. We'd like to see calves that got that nice long muzzle and calves that's got not as much throat as this calf does here. So that's why competitors will pick the throat up with their other hand and hold on to that throat to give that calf a nice cleaner look throughout their head and neck. When we look at this competitor here, we have a nicely neat rolled halter with a halter that fits this calf's head very snugly and nicely, and no extra strap there. So, and we have the calf that the competitor's got the strap and everything out of the calf's eye, holding that away from that to give the calf comfort out in the ring as well. So, as we were mentioning, the throat of this calf, we'd like the competitor to come in with her other hand and hold that throat. So that it's from the other side viewing it gives her a nicer, cleaner look from the side view through her head and her neck. Okay, so we're talking about spacing, and when we see these calves come in the ring here, we want to see a nice spacing of a foot and a half, 2 foot at the most spacing. You have to watch the ring and know how many competitors are coming in, so you have to be conscious on how much space you leave between, but you don't want to overcrowd your exhibitor that's in front of you. So right now it would be a proper spacing in between calves. We will move this other gentleman. He'll come up and get really close to this calf if he's right up. You want to just move up closer? If you get up really close to the other calf right now, wouldn't be ideal for spacing coming into the ring. So you have to be considerate to other competitors and their calves when they do come into the ring. So right now it would be too close for the second competitor to be behind our.
Okay, we're talking about the stopping and starting today with the calves. I want to make sure that the judges always give clear signals to the exhibitors, so we'll be making our hands motions very visible, very slowly, giving a chance, everyone in the ring, if there's calves behind you, you're actually going to turn and make sure that everyone can see your motions for the stop signal. Same going with the, you've looked at the calves, you have an appraisal of them, the showman. You're going to then make nice visible motions that you're going to move those calves again in the ring. So then they'll start moving at that point. So with the stopping and starting, one of the things that we're looking for is the proper spacing when we're asking them to stop. So we generally would like to see about the length of the calf, or at least 5 to 6 feet spacing between the calves, so that the judge has the opportunity, can move cleanly around those calves without being crowded. Of course, the exhibitor should never be interfering with the calf ahead of them as well, so that's good sportsmanship that we're looking for in the spacing of the class when we've asked them to stop. Or in motion, we don't want to see crowding. It will depend a little bit on the size of the class, how many are in the ring. Some large classes, the spacing might be a little bit tighter, but there always should be about 5 feet, at least for the judge to go between the calves if necessary. Okay, so we're going to talk about the spacing of the show person relative to the calf. So in this example, we're looking for just a bit of an angle to the show person's elbow. They're leading the calf. We're also looking at the head carriage of the calf. We want the head of the calf high, but we want the nose down. So if we're looking at the calf, we want to see a nice angle, just a little higher on her head there, nice angle to the backbone of the calf, but we also want the head angled down like that. If we had head carriage where the head was too high, the nose was too high, put the nose in the air, we see how the forehead of the calf flattens out as parallel to the ground. So we want to keep the nose down. It gives the calf a more stylish appearance. Back to the separation of the calf, we want to avoid, so this would be a situation where this leads person is too far from the calf. You can see the elbow here is very straight because she's got a straight arm distance from the calf. This is the type of show person that would tire after a whole day of showing like this, get very tired. Also doesn't have quite the control to the calf. The other situation we might want, this would be the other extreme where we have the separation from the lead person to the calf. This lead person is too close to the calf and doesn't have quite as good as control at this point as well. So just a nice distance from the calf, a nice comfortable elbow, the calf's head is high and the nose is down. Okay, so we also want to talk about this having a nice 45-degree angle to the calf so we can see the calf. We can also see the judge and we can see the calf. If we get a little bit too straight in front of the calf, then we're looking over our shoulder to see the judge quite often. It's much easier to stand just on a little bit of an angle, but at the same time, we don't want to be flat to the ring like this. Okay, so about a 45-degree angle. You can see her body is about 45-degree angled back from the calf. And you also notice the exhibitor just has the head turned, when we ask them to stop, just has the nose of the calf turned slightly, just slightly, into the judge. That gives the calf a more desire. I get a lot more breed character and style from the head when the nose is tipped towards the judge just a little bit when they've been asked to stop. Okay, so we've asked the exhibitors to stop here, and we're looking for the correct placement of the feet and legs. When we've asked them to stop, we've given them good signals. We'd like to see the exhibitor know the faults of their animal and set them up quickly, but correctly is the most important. Get it done correctly. So we'd like to see the front feet of the animal fairly straight, and what I mean is fairly that way together. Maybe just ahead a little bit with that one. If they're fairly close, that's fine. Most importantly is the back feet. And what we're looking for here, the back leg closest to the judge should be always back. So when we're talking about the spacing of their legs, we're not talking this spacing, we're talking this spacing, and that should be ideally 6 to 7 inches. Of course, depends a little bit on the size of the calf. So we're fairly close there. Perhaps could be just a little more. The far leg could be ahead just a little bit more, but we're not too bad. So on the back legs, we're looking for that 6 to 7 inches between the leg closest to the judge and the leg on the inside of the heifer. We're also looking for an angle down from the hock down to the ground. We know that we don't want the angle of that leg to be back like that. That would mean that heifer, that leg is stretched out too much. Another point you can look at is coming down from the pins, but I like this angle here. So if it's straight down or slightly ahead, we find that fits this heifer just fine. Because this heifer is just a little bit softer on top, we want to make sure that those feet are underneath, well under this calf, to create a stronger top line as well. Okay, another item that we can make decisions upon when we're doing the stop and starts is the posture of the exhibitor, whether they're slouching down or standing up with confidence, with good control of the calf. This is important and can easily be done when you're making your stop and start signals. When we're doing our stops and starts, we want to be fair to all competitors, that they're having an equal chance. So when we do 3 to 4 stops and starts, it will depend on the size of the class, how many exhibitors you have, but generally 3 to 4 stops to starts when the calves are all in the ring, and you can make some, always from a distance is the best time to make lots of decisions. You get a very good overview of the spacing in the ring, a very good overview of the posture and the spacing between the calf and the animal. The other thing we want to know, remember, is the spacing of the animal from, say, if you're in an arena, the spacing of the animal from the wall of the arena and the spacing of the animal to the judge. So we would ideally like to see all animals 6 to 7 feet off a wall, unless the ringman has told you to go closer in a large class, so that the judge can always easily walk around the animal on this other side and has room to work behind this animal, between this animal and a wall. Likewise, if there was one exhibitor 6 to 7 feet into the ring towards the judge, and all others are out there and they are properly spaced from the wall, that show person is actually grandstanding or trying to draw too much attention to their position in the ring. So that spacing between the wall, between the judge, is also part of the stops and starts and in the ring. The other thing we want to just be a little bit concerned about is when we're making our stops and then going in for the close appraisal or that technical analysis, looking at behind the calves and what they're doing in closer, we want to make sure that we're not stopping and going in and doing that close inspection near an exit point or an entrance point or perhaps a bad corner. We want to be fair to exhibitors, that they've had a chance we've gone in for that close inspection in an area that is very workable. So what works very well is if you have a long, say the longer length of the ring that you're working in, if you can look at 4 or 5 calves in that area, go in for the close inspection and do that for 4 or 5 calves, then step back and then make a motion and move your ring so that you've brought in a new set of calves into that ideal location. Then you would stop them and then go in and make another close inspection in that area that's very workable and fair to those exhibitors. Works very well. With that, the last portion we just talked about, working in a general area like that, of stopping them, going in for close inspection, and doing a group of calves, then walking back out, that gives you a chance to quickly observe what's going on in the other areas of the ring, where those calves are set up properly or the leads persons are attentive. It also, you get a quick view, then you can motion to bring in a new group, and what this achieves is you're actually working with different groups of exhibitors in an area. It saves you footsteps. It's going to make you less tired. If it's at a big show, you've saved yourself a lot of walking around the ring. If you can bring the calves to you, it makes a little more sense than you going completely all around the ring, class after class.
Hi, I'm Kyle Rivington. I'm going to be doing the technical analysis and the one-on-one judging while in the ring. So whenever we're in the center of the ring and we've stopped the competitors, ready to do our one-on-one analysis, this is our opportunity to check out the spacing that these animals have and the show people have left. These competitors have left enough room in front to allow themselves room to work. They've also left themselves enough room on the outside of the ring for us as judges to move around them. So right now we're going to be able to check out some things we've already seen as they've entered the ring. We're going to be able to see the head carriage and the proper fitting of the halter, and the necessary adjustments where the show person's profiled the calf as the front feet are square and the back feet profiled towards the judge. So as the judge moves in front, we're going to want a show person that allows us to see down the front of their animal. Their arms comfortable, their elbows not too high, not too outstretched, and I'm able to see down the front of the calf. You're going to really take notice to the front feet of the calf and make sure that the show person has made necessary adjustments, if needed, to the chest width of the calf. As the judge moves to the side of the calf, the head will turn slightly with my movement, which allows the calf to, or the judge rather, not to see the dewlap, which has been being taken up as the head turns and I move to the side. As I reach for the hide, the head has continued to be turned to make sure the hide is more pliable. And as the judge moves around, we're going to see the show person make the necessary adjustments to make sure that that calf is straight from nose to tail. We're going to analyze, make sure the feet are properly placed underneath the heifer. And as the judge comes to this side, we're going to see the show person or competitor take a 1/2 step forward. As we move to the other side of the calf, the hand already on the point of shoulder, it makes it easy to profile the calf the way we would like to see it and move that 1/2 step forward. This is where we would rather see a show person take an extra 1/2 step to make sure the calf is looking her best at all times, rather than seeing the speed of which the show person can do it. Keeping that hand on the point of shoulder just allows that steadiness. If needed, then the dewlap is allowed to be held if it's going to improve the look of the heifer. From the back side of the calf, it also allows the judge the opportunity to see the rest of the class. It gets the opportunity to see which show people are really paying attention, allow to see who's always doing the best and making their calf look the best at all times. It's going to allow you to see calves that are acting up or show people that aren't paying attention. As the judge moves back to the center of the ring and the show person ahead is adjusting the feet, once again 1/2 step forward, it gives us an opportunity to see the show person behind and whether they're giving you a chance to follow with the head. And it also allows you just to show that they're paying attention at all times. As we move back to the center of the ring, we're going to ensure that our show person that we've just looked at has reprofiled his calf and make the necessary adjustments, and we're going to move on to our next heifer.
So here we have two show people. They've pulled into line, and we are just demonstrating here the spacing and lining up of the feet and setting up of the feet. So as you see, they have two show people pulled in a line. We have proper spacing. The show person in second is able to reach back and touch the line if he has to. He's able to see how his back feet are set up. So the show person in first is set up properly. He has front feet set up correct. He has the rear feet set up properly, the left foot back, the one facing the judge. He's standing there with his hand at the point of the shoulder, the halter rolled appropriately. Show person in second, the same thing, as is able to put his hand on the point of the shoulder. He had his back feet set up the best of the ability with his heifer. The front feet are lined up in line with each other. As when the show people come into line, they're supposed to judge. The front feet are also supposed to be in line even with each other. They come around to the front of the show people. They've turned their muzzles towards me, and they'll follow me as I walk along the line. The show people are standing comfortably, either holding throat or hand on the point of the shoulder, trying to show off their animals to the best of their ability. So right now we're demonstrating a show person that has its calf set up properly and is not continued to fidget or overshow its animal. Some show people tend to continue to try and place the feet, continue to try to pinch down the line when it is not necessary. This is a show person demonstrating that his animal is set up properly correct, and he's standing there relaxed, in control of his animal, watching the judge.